Hey there, this is D-Man Jones. So, you apparently decided that you wanted me to do another review. Okay, I'll do it. After all, I've never done a review for a long time, so this is my first review of a film for a long time. So, the film we're gonna review right now is Osmosis Jones. So I actually watched the film twice. The first time I watched it was at the very end of 8th grade. And back then I thought the film was weird. I rewatched the film again with my mother a year later this year. And I yet again thought the film was so weird. So before we talk about the film itself, how about we talk about why Osmosis Jones ended up as a huge mess. So as we were watching Osmosis Jones, I decided to do some research on the film and look into the Wikipedia article about the film into the production tab to see what went wrong. And it turns out that the film actually went through production hell when it was being made. Yeah, this is one of those films that went through production hell. And in this case, it's the fact that the animated segments are apparently easy to do, while the live action segments, they had a really hard time picking itself up. And then they realized, you know what? Screw it, let's just rush the live action parts. That's not a good idea. So in my previous reviews of other movies, I usually just, talk about the film straightforward. But in this case, well, I guess what I have to do is talk to you about the film with a list. Here's a list of things that I think are right and wrong about Osmosis Jones. 1. The story. Right? The story in the animated segments sounds pretty interesting, and is executed very well, with some clever dialogue and has some heart into it. Wrong. The story in the live-action segments not only sounded bland as your typical average daughter and father relationship plotline, but it's also executed horribly with bland dialogue and doesn't have any heart at all. Number 2. The humor. Right. Like I said before, the humor in the animated segments have clever, witty dialogue that brings up a chuckle in me and sometimes makes me laugh. That's pretty interesting. Wrong. The jokes in the live-action segments, especially in the transitions from animation to those segments, contain mostly bodily humor, and it's simply insufferable. It's so unfunny and disgusting. Number 3. The animation. Right? This hand-drawn animation is probably some of the best from Warner Bros. Feature animation. I like how they interpret the blood cells, germs, and viruses in Warner Bros. Iconic cartoon caricature style. The character animation is also pretty smooth, fluid, and creative. Wrong. The film uses some CGI, and while some of it, like with the car thingies and Frank's body, along with the model of Drix the Pill, still look good for 2001 standards, some of it, like the human mouth and the human eye, look really dated and pretty fake 21 years later in 2022. Number 4. The characters. Right? Most of the characters in the animated segments I like. Osmosis Jones himself is a pretty likable protagonist. Drix is good too. They all pretty much work out. I especially like the villain, Thrax, a virus who previously took down several humans, and he now wants to take down Frank. He's a pretty interesting villain, and I bet he's one of the characters the crew had the most fun with, along with Osmosis Jones himself. Wrong. All of the live-action characters suck. That's especially the case with Frank, the guy who we mostly spend time on the inside and around. He is an absolute idiot, and he's the one who makes the most unfunny jokes in this movie. The other ones don't work either, as they're pretty uninteresting. And while I like most of the animated characters, I don't like Mayor Fleming, because he's the cause of Frank being an idiot despite trying to be funny. And I personally thought Gia was a pretty weak supporting character, just being there as Jones's love interest. Finally, number 5, the acting. Right, the voice acting done by Chris Rock, Lawrence Fishburne, David Hyde Pierce, and so on is pretty good, and they definitely put as much personality into the characters as they can without phoning it in. Wrong. The live-action acting is my armpits. It stinks. Actors like Bill Murray, Elena Franklin, Chris Elliott, and so on don't really seem like they cared at all during their moments in the movie. My final verdict? Probably a 5 out of 10. It just doesn't really work. Okay, so that was my entire review of Osmosis Jones. So, if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to. And be sure to follow into my Twitter account in the description below to catch me up. I'll see you next time. Bye.